Hello boys and girls and welcome to a tutorial video. Yes, today is a teaching video, so listen carefully and make notes if you have to. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to do well in races in GTA Online. A few crewmates have been at me wondering how I beat their scores and do so well, so I'm going to run through my techniques and tips on how I race in the game. I'll be running through what I believe to be the best cars in each class and also how best to handle them. The three main classes that people use in races are supercars, sports cars and motorbikes. There are others, but for the purposes of this video I'll be sticking to these three. The track I'll be using I believe to be a good example of straights, sweeping corners and proper racing lines, and it was made by a crew member. So the standard racing settings we've got standard, which is a simple lap race. We've got GTA, which is the same thing but with weapons and guns and blowy uppy stuff. Rally's not played so much, so I'm not going to run through that today. A non-contact is just standard or point to point. Also, point to point is just like a stage, so you start and finish at different places. But today we'll just go through lap races because the fundamentals are pretty much the same. So non-contact, obviously I'm doing this on my own just to show you, but non-contact is just a standard race and everyone's sort of transparent. So it's kind of like a time trial thing really. Cool, so for this race it's going to be non-contact, even though I'm on my own. It's just the default setup. Different class, so the default class for this race is sports. We've also got sports classics, muscle, coupes, SUVs, pretty much all of them I believe. Yep, so let's go back to sports, there we go. So time of day is just obviously morning, noon, night, current, whatever. I'm going to go for morning just to stick with the default, weather clear. Traffic on or off, I prefer off just to make it like a proper race setting. Wanted levels off and custom vehicles on. You'll notice that if I change to standard, you get a few extra options. So you get custom vehicles. That was there before, wasn't it? Custom vehicles, catch up, and slipstream. So catch up basically means if people are falling behind, the people in front will get a slight speed cut, which is a bit lame really. Which is why I never have it on. So that's going to go off. Every time I host a race, that's always off because I just prefer to race properly, not having to be slowed down if I'm doing well. And slipstream obviously is if you go behind a car and you're in their slipstream, you'll go a bit faster, but in this game it's incredibly overpowered. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just show you a quick lap of in a sports car. I'll explain to you what all the best corners to take and how to take them and the speed you approach them at. So for sports class, the two best cars I believe are the Elegy and the Massacro. I assume that's how it's pronounced. They're basically both good in different ways. So the Elegy is four-wheel drive, so you can go a bit faster around corners and there's a bit more grip, but there is a possibility of a lot of understeer and the car could eventually just flip out at the back for no reason, which does happen. Whereas the Massacro is it's two-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive obviously, and it's a bit tail-happy sometimes, so keep that under your control. But in the right tracks it is a lot faster than the Elegy, generally ones with more sharp corners, whereas the Elegy, because it's four-wheel drive and can understeer, sometimes you can't take the corners as fast as you want to. For this track the Elegy is the better one because there isn't many sharp corners, so we'll just run through the track. I'll explain to you what the best lines are to use. Okay, so here we go into the race. So to start off with, there is a little tip to get a good start off the line. I'll show you it once it does it. Cool, so you get a tiny little speed boost there. So what that is, when you get to go, as soon as it says go, you put your foot down. You have to do it then. You can't do it early, you can't do it later, and you can't sort of rev your engine beforehand. I'm not sure if that makes a difference or not, but it's best not to, just to make sure. So I'm just going to do a rough lap of the track to show you what the best lines are, then I'll explain it as I go around. Cool, so that was more or less a half decent lap. A few dodgy bits, but overall that was generally as good as it normally is. My record's 142, I believe. I've never actually been able to beat that since. Any actually get anywhere near it, unfortunately. So what I'll do is show you the rough racing line. So the basic thing you need to remember is outside, inside, outside. So outside when you come to the corner, inside the corner during the corner, and then outside again. Then you get some little chicanes like this where you sort of have to mix it together. You basically want to brake late or not brake at all. That's what you need to do. Brake late or not brake at all, depending on the corner. So that one you generally don't have to brake for when you're going at full speed. This one's just flat out. So you want to brake as late as possible. That's how you get the edge over your opponents, is braking as late as possible, turning, lifting off, then accelerate. You don't want to accelerate when you're in the corner because you'll spin out. You want to accelerate as you come out the corner. So brake. So that's what happens when you accelerate in the corner. You can tame it sometimes. It depends how far into the corner you are. So there, turn into the corner, straighten up, accelerate. Sometimes it is a bit forgiving. You can sort of accelerate while you're in the corner still. So outside, inside, outside the corner again, brake, turn inside the corner, don't hit the tyres. Oh god, outside, outside, and then turn inside again, go to the outside, and you want to clip the apex or more or less drive over it, and again inside, into the outside. The less you steer, the faster you'll go, is basically what the rule is. So the more you're accelerating, the better time you'll have. So straight down here, brake, turn, slightly accelerate, and keep going. So you can accelerate in the corner, but you don't want to just hammer it down, because you will then spin out. It's not so much a problem in this car, it's mainly the Massacre, which we'll go through in a minute, which has that problem. But sometimes you can sort of cut the corner. You don't have to drive exactly through the checkpoints like here. That gets accepted. So if you can cut the corner checkpoints as much as you can, that's always a good thing to do. And you can keep hitting those bloody signs. You can do them on quite a few corners on this track actually. So if you can cut the corners, you try to, because you will shave off a couple of milliseconds. But the guy who made this has actually done it quite well, so he's put all the checkpoints on the apexes of the corner, so you shouldn't have to really cut anything out. Okay, for example. And find the dips in the road, so here, so slow down. As you can see here, the car has a slight angle. If the road is cambered like that, you will go faster through the corners. You'll be able to accelerate more with less chance of spinning out. Whereas ones like this, where it's flat, you can't do that as much. So always try and find the camber in the corner to get as much speed possible. As much speed as possible. There we go. If I can speak English. So I believe the Massacre you can brake later, I believe, within this car. So again, find the camera in the road, hug the inside, go to the outside, hug the inside again. Just like a pendulum effect. Inside, outside, inside, outside. And the more you do this, you just keep practicing and practicing the tracks over and over again. Like I've done the track loads of times, and I still screw it up. So the more you practice, the better you do get. But don't be afraid to still make mistakes, because it will happen. But then you just learn from them. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run through driving that track in a supercar. The one I'm going to choose is the Zentorno, which also is 4-wheel drive. So you do drive it in a similar sort of way, so there's a bit more understeer with this car. It does grip a hell lot better, obviously, than the other car does. You can sort of push it a bit more, you don't have to brake as hard and things like that. So I'll show you a few laps in this car, then we'll move on to motorbikes. So at the beginning of the race, you can still do the same thing with the turbo boost. So I'll tell you when I press the button. And now. So you press the button then just after it says go, or when it says go. So as you can tell, this car is a hell lot faster and a lot more grippy than the LG and generally all the cars in the game, except the Entity. I believe this and the Entity, possibly the Adder, are the ones that sort of keep up with each other. But things like the Vakas and things like that, all are still known to be able to keep up with the supercars if driven properly. But this is personally my favourite. So as you'll see, we do get to brake a hell lot later in this car. Again, there's a little bit of understeer, which is corrected with some oversteer. Then to brake hard, turn into the corner, accelerate out the corner, brake, turn, accelerate out the corner. And second again, find the camber. That was terrible. Find the camber in the road if you can. That was truly awful. Again, cut that checkpoint. I'm not sure why that checkpoint is like half size. But again, cut them if you have got space to do so. And obviously, you have to judge the braking distance. I've never really raced this track with supercars, so you'll judge the braking distance. It is in this game, the physics aren't as sort of on par as Gran Turismo and Forza and Dirt and F1, all that sort of stuff. So you can be a bit sort of pushy with it. So you can slide the cars if it helps. You won't shave too much off your time, but obviously you will take some off. Also, you just want to huggle the corners, cut them as much as you can. You want to try and take the most straightest route through the corners. That's basically what you want to do. Find the quickest and straightest route. So again, this one you can sort of cut. So just use your best judgment on corners like that. On the outside of the track, go to the inside. This car does. If you brake and steer at the same time on this track, you do. This car, sorry, you can spin the back out a tiny bit. But it's rare you'll actually spin this car because it is very grippy. Again, this was just a big straight bit all the way down. Then brake on the outside, turn in, lift off, put your foot down again after you come out the corner. That one you can still go flat out run, brake, turn in, bit of power, oh god. Turn, bit of power, try not to crash. Just keep going like nothing happened. So, because that's slightly cambered, you can still accelerate into that corner more or less. Same with this one. I mean, this one I try and be lucky and try and cut the corner through here without hitting the lamppost. Which is a bit cheeky. But it works, so yeah. Brake. That was braking too early. And then round, brake hard. Keep going. And then brake, turn. So when you go to the outside of the track, try to go as close to the outside as you can without hitting it. So if you hit it, there is a good chance that you'll lose a bit of control, which will obviously lose some time. And then brake, turn a bit of power, keep you going, accelerate out the corner. You want a nice smooth motion. So this one, I just want to race properly without cutting all the corners. So brake, turn in, bit of a slide, shouldn't lose that much time. So that one you can almost go flat out, but you have to lift a tiny bit to go around the corner. So it all comes down to using judgment, and obviously with a track you haven't tried before, maybe not going as hastily as you would do if you knew the track. To leave a bit of power off. Just try and get used to the track, maybe one lap or so, depending on what the track's like. And see what everyone else is doing as well. I mean, the people who don't know the track as well will probably be trying to be going too fast, lose control, crash, might take you with them and stuff like that. So just be careful with the track you don't know. See, that's why I didn't use judgment. Well, I did, I just messed it up. But still. So yeah, it just comes down to the smoothest line you can take, hugging the outside, going to the inside of the corner, and to the outside again. That was a bit exaggerated to make the point. Outside, inside, outside. As long as you do that, you'll be reasonably consistent and get some decent times, as long as you've got a decent car to back it up. I mean, Zentorno, Adder, and Entity are the best supercars. to race with generally. And then for the supercars, it's the Massacre and the Elegy. Massacre is better for tracks which are longer, have longer straights, because they have a better acceleration. Quite a lot better actually. And then the Elegy is better for ones with sort of a lot of corners which aren't sharp. If they're sharp corners, then go for the Massacre, because that tends to be better. Okay, so for the last part of the tutorial, we're going to cover motorbikes. So with motorbikes, there is quite a bit of a difference. So the two best bikes, I believe, is the Beatty, whatever, 801, which is what I use, and the Akuma. I think the Akuma is actually better, but I prefer this one because of its looks. I don't really race it that much, and when I do race it, I still generally do quite well anyway. So starting off, the fundamentals are the same, but there is one big difference, which a lot of people don't seem to really know and use. So again, you can get the turbo boost with the bike as well. You can go with the golf cart if you really wanted to. So with motorbikes, what you want, the way that motorbikes work in this game is the more you wheelie, the faster you'll be. So I'll just go around the track showing you the racing line with the motorbike to start with. For this one, you don't have to, with the bike, you don't really have to brake at all on that bit. Nowhere near as much. So I'm just racing it how any other normal person would really in this game, without knowing the little trick to get ahead. So yeah, this track you can pretty much do without braking a lot of the time, and the racing line and the fundamentals are still the same. So outside, inside, outside, which I'll keep banging on about. I'm sure you're getting really irritated by now, but it's the basics to racing. And always know what's coming up ahead of you, so you can prepare. And that's sort of a given, but still. And with the motorbike, when you go around corners, make sure you know where the guy's head is, not where the wheels are as well, because you can easily hit lampposts and everything, which I've done a lot. So I've barely actually braked around this whole track with the motorbike, except that corner. So that's where you have to watch out, is things like that, where you could almost hit the lampposts with the player, the character I mean. Like that. I got lucky. I wasn't going fast enough. Okay, so this lap I'm going to do slightly differently. I'm going to hold back the left stick, but still turn at the same time. So you can see the movements are really jerky, but the bike is going a hell of a lot faster. So like I said, the more you wheelie, the faster you go. So basically what I'm doing is I'm holding down the left stick the whole time. Then if I want to steer, while holding it down, just move left and right. Because then you'll steer, but then instantly when you straighten up, you'll go back into a wheelie again. And then brake, accelerate, and then do the exact same thing again, just keep holding it back. So when you're wheeling, you automatically get faster acceleration. And trust me, if you do this in bike races, you'll fly away from everyone else. Because 90% of players don't know about this. And I didn't know about this until a crew member told me, which was genius. And then since I did that, I've set a world record on, I think, a business trip with this bike. I think I got 8th or 9th or something. I've also got a world record on Loop the Lake on the GTA race. I came 2nd. And the person who's currently first is my crew member, and we were fighting over top position for a while. But I haven't attempted to beat his quite yet. So yeah. Something I will point out is when you're doing the wheelie, you will lose control a bit easier. Because you can't get smooth motions, it's a lot jerky. A lot more jerkier. Wait, that's it doesn't even right. Whatever. You will lose control easier because they're not smooth motions. It's kind of like you know, in the old, like the PlayStation 1, when you were steering with the directional keys, like on a keyboard. So the left, right, left, off, right, off. So 1, 0, that sort of thing. That's what it's kind of like here. That's how it kind of works. It's kind of straight, right, left, either full lock or no lock. if you're holding back down the left stick. So, oh god. But once you get used to it, you will win races. If the other players don't know what to do, don't know how to do this, you will win every single race. Trust me. Because I'm going so much faster now just by doing this. But it does take a little bit of time to get used to. I will say that. Oh god. See, even now, like, I've done this a lot, and I'm still not entirely used to it. That was a really terrible corner. And this one's quite easy to cut out of the corner with, to drive through here, compared to a car. And you can just hear it, the difference. So I'm not holding it back now. Hold it back. You can see that that tiny little higher pitch. Maybe in a little section it won't make much of a difference, but trust me, on the overall it will. It's definitely worth practicing and getting right. If you want to win races, that is. Well, I assume that's why you're here. So people keep asking me, my crew, like, how do you do so well and why do you beat this stuff and everything. It's just practice. Know where the racing lines are in tracks, know when to brake, when to accelerate, how much to accelerate, things like that. And if you're in a standard race against other players where the contact is on, then just be wary of other players around you. If it comes to the first corner and everyone's about to turn into it, hang back a bit, because trust me, people will crash in the first corner because everyone's bunched up and everyone will want to get through first and it will be a car wreck. So the best thing I normally do is back off a bit, and that generally seems to work. So just make sure you know what's around you and the best racing line, how to accelerate, when to accelerate, things like that, and trust me, you'll do well. So thanks for watching my video, I hope it's helped. Leave a comment below to let me know if I'm doing anything right, doing anything wrong, if you want to see any more racing tutorials at all. And I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you've got any suggestions you want me to work on GTA 5, then let me know in the comments below.